So, instead of doing what I did for Season 3, which was break down each team, see where they're going to go well, I'm just going to do a prediction video. I have a table next to me. This is going to go horribly wrong. I already know it. I think last season I had Drake winning it, and I think they ended up 11th. So, I'm really not good at predictions. That's something in my eye. And this is also done before pre-season, so I'm basing this off of what the upgrades are, and that would make the manufacturers, that makes it Volkswagen, BMW, Audi, Honda, and I'll say Holden over Alpha. I mean, they're on a par, let's be honest. So, bottom, I have put Cosworks. Now, look, they won WTCL 2, which is now ITCL, obviously, last season. Very, very impressive. But, I think they're going to finish bottom. For one key reason, and that is that they don't have a good endurance driver. Their endurance driver is Oliver Sharman out. He is a 60 overall driver. He's just not going to have the quality. And I think that's going to cost them massively. It's only 2 races, but those 2 races can make a lot of difference with points. You're also going into a season armed with Konstantin Ashachenkov, who, I mean, he's not a bad driver, but on 200k, it's not great. And the main signing is Dorothea Betsky, of course, coming in on loan from Stoffel. She's not particularly excelled in the endurance, so you're going into it with, on paper, the worst car and a driver lineup that is unconvincing. Cosworks, you're going down. Just ahead of them, we have the other inverted team, of course, in the name of Project R. I put them 13th. Similar situation to Alpha, they haven't got a straight driver lineup, and they've gone for a pretty bad car. But I mentioned the endurance. I think that's why Project R will stay up. We saw Ralph Kortic in his one appearance in ITCL or WTCL 2 last year that he definitely knew how to drive a car pretty well. Java is a pretty underwhelming move, and Sermon will probably lack the quality to get involved in the higher series, but Project R will scrape home in 30. Coming in top, I have put Drake. Now look, the BMW, it's expected to be one of the faster cars this season. Doesn't mean Drake are going to do well, though. For one simple reason. Their driver lineup wouldn't even be good enough to win ITCL. Linda Rodel, who was Haylight's bitch last season, and prior to that was getting fired at Envy. Interesting. I mean, Liam Henry, another Envy reject, funny enough, yeah, who was also pretty underwhelming in WTCL 2 last year. He's the endurance driver because you put Goldschmidt in your first time. I'm sorry. What? You seriously put a guy who last season was just nearly 100 points behind his teammate in WTCL 2 in our first team seat. I mean, at least put Liam Henry in. Yeah, he's still terrible after getting on. Yeah, he's still a bad driver, but at least Goldschmidt only has to be racing 2 races, not like half the entire season. Drake are going to finish 12th. Their underwhelming lineup will cost them any ambition, and they're going to limp into 12th. Coming in 11th, I have put Peregrine. Peregrine have taken a very interesting move to the Holden after their decent mid-hill mediocrity with Volkswagen. The issue with Peregrine is, if you look at last season, they don't have the best momentum, do they, Peregrine? Of course, failing to score in 6 competitive races. Yeah, I know they bounced back and had a decent Leipzig round, but you're coming into it still armed with the perennially out-of-form Corleone, albeit only as an endurance. Andre Babnew is an interesting move. I'll give you that one, given Drake got rid of him. Yeah, he was maybe just better than Cordova last season, but his only notable results seem to come in the sprint races more than anything, and you're not really going to be able to get in that position. And Demian Dye is a 36-year-old now. He's not going to be as quick, I don't think. I mean, he was mostly pudding last season at times, so this is going to be a pretty slog of a season for Peregrine. Just while the Alpha finds its feet, they won't be in danger of going down. Their driver lineup should do a more than competent job of getting points when needed. But if you are a Peregrine fan, or you are Peregrine yourself, obviously, watching this, don't get too excited. And just ahead of them, I've got the other team who's making a massive gamble to switch from a German manufacturer to a new manufacturer. That is, of course, Ironside. Now, Ironside, they've always had a bit of a reputation. They are, if you want, say, the Crystal Palace. Or, not the Crystal Palace, how do I put this better? They are like... My brain's died 2 seconds. They are almost like the... No, okay, let's go back to the Crystal Palace analogy. No, because they actually go in. They're like the... They're just like... If you want to from a league perspective, they are like, as I said, a Crystal Palace. They just always mid-table. This year, they've obviously moved to Alpha, where they were partner of coursework, so I have got to go down. The strong point for Ironside is your driver lineup looking pretty good, if I must say so myself. Danker Crow, of course, impressed in the endurance last season. GU, still pretty average, let's be honest, but he's a competent enough driver. And Cornel Sava is a young, up-and-coming endurance driver who had some notable moments for Esther last season. It's going to be a quiet but solid season, more the same really from Ironside. They'll finish 10th, and like Peregrine, there won't really be too much to look forward to. The one prediction I will have, you'll probably win 2 sprint races this season. I'll say GU will grab one of them, and I think Danker Crow will obviously grab the other. That prediction's going to come back to bite me in the arse. Coming in at 9th place, I have got another BMW team, and that's Pretoria. Now, it makes no sense why I put 2 BMW teams this low, but Pretoria, they just don't convince me with anything. Paul Balajin has proved to, and Bruno Firmino have both proven to be fairly averagely inconsistent drivers, and Stair Ramacus is the endurance, who, in case you don't follow WTCL 2 last year, was pretty bloody hopeless. I mean, yeah, she beat her teammate Lydia Flores, but it was by 5 points, so I'm not really taking that as too strong of a form line. Peregrine, a bit like an Ironside. I mean, you've got a decent car. I think that will help out, but I just think the inconsistency and slowness of Balajin and Firmino, combined with the lack of quality coming from Ramacus, I think this is just going to be forgettable for Pretoria. Eighth place, Tubergium. Tell anyone a week ago that I would be predicting Tubergium to finish 8th, and they must have assumed that I'd finally gone on crack or something. But the main thing that lets Tubergium down, if anything, is their driver like the Volkswagen. I think the Volkswagen is going to win the manufacturers. I don't think Tubergium are going to have a good season though. This is going to be very similar to Nürburgring, not Nürburgring last season. Yeah, this is just going to be very similar to Nürburgring of last season. In a good Audi car, but having a driver lineup about as sturdy as a wet plank of wood. Andreas Lorenzo has come in as endurance. Yet he did well for Baltico in WTCL, but other than a good result in Argentina, which was an absolute madhouse, he only scored 4 points in WTCL 2 last year. Rivik Singh was kicked out of Platinum after being mostly inconsistent, despite having high points. And Archie Kennedy, who's literally only known for nearly trying to murder a woman, and not in the Yorkshire Whippo kind of way. No, I just mean in the racing kind of way. I'm not accusing Archie Kennedy of murder. I mean, Yves or Ethan might, but I'm not. It's going to be a decent season. I think Tubergium will finally win a race, but when it comes to actually doing anything, no. 7th place, I've gone for Shenzhen. Now look, Shenzhen have actually stuck with Audi even for this season, and I think they'll have a very solid season. Obviously, finishing 7th would be an improvement. But the thing that I think lets them down is not merely their driver, it's just nothing really looks world class. Nomura is a good driver on paper, but he did prove to have weaknesses in WTCL 2 last year. Louis Cordova was outclassed by Andre Favigny at Drake last year, and Kim J returning his endurance is a very questionable manoeuvre. It's going to be a season of high points for Shenzhen, but a driver lineup that could be stronger, could possibly come back to cost them top 5. Coming in 6th place, I have got Santos, who will be the highest of the BMW teams by quite some distance. Santos don't really have a single weakness, other than everything. Look, I think David Lester will continue to have a strong endurance campaign, but Hackinson is 42. I'm honestly shocked that man is still racing. And Mariette Boucher is on a 4-year deal, even though she's very inconsistent. Mariette Boucher, right? You could either have her fighting at the front, or you could have her fighting at the back. Either way, she's kamikazing someone out of the race. I think Boucher will probably be a handful for Santos once again. Hackinson will deliver the goods. Leicester will have a good race, but I think Boucher's inconsistency while she develops will cost Santos top 5. Coming in at 5th place, I've got Esther, who will be the lowest of the Honda teams. Now, look, Honda obviously won it last year. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep this form up. I think they should, but we will see. Stafford Winfield, kept on as a full-time driver, is a bit of an interesting manoeuvre. Although to be fair, she did have a multi-year contract after, of course, she only scored 21 points from France last season. Buddy Darman, I mean, he was pretty outclassed by Etienne Bonaventura, and he didn't even look that great at times. The Bedroom Madison will probably win the Endurance Championship. But the main thing that lets Esther back, as I mentioned, Winfield and Darman are two drivers that are solid, but I don't think they're quite ready to take Envy Esther into that title fight. I think if you replace Darman with someone even of the caliber of someone like Thompson or Mendes, you could easily be a title contender. But I think Darman is going to cost Esther any chance of winning the title. Coming in at 4th place. It's going to be an interesting one, this one. But I have decided to go for Platinum. Now, look, Platinum, you're a good team, but you're not getting top 3. Lichtsteiner will probably be the reason why. He'll probably just kamikaze everyone off, let's be honest. Nikolaev will probably have moments here and there, and Jerome Mathers will be a very strong contender for the Endurance. But if we have to talk plain facts, it's again a solid, but there's no 90 driver. There's no next caliber driver to take you into that title fight. So it'll be a similar story to Esther finishing 4th. 3rd place, I've gone for Shrewsbury, who of course is my team. We've moved to Audi. The Audi were a very good team last year, and we did see with Audi last year, if you have a good driver lineup and you know what you're doing, you can make a lot of changes that can make that thing a weapon. Austin Lindqvist will probably be in the dark hunt for the title. Charlotte Thompson has proved to be a very shrewd signing, and whilst a bit risky and may not be convincing as an Endurance, and that's probably why Shrewsbury won't quite have the quality to challenge the big two in the title fight, they will have a very, very solid season and finish 3rd. 2nd place might shock a lot of you, but it's not Envy, it's Stoffel. I just think that Honda this season, something about Stoffel screams upset. Ezra Ventura, Angelo Torres, and Amaro Perez, they should be winning this. But if I'm going to be honest, I think the Honda's going to cost them. I just think without that balance of performance to keep them in the series, I think they're just going to fall away and just fall into nothing, really. They'll finish 2nd, just missing out on the title to Envy. And if I had to say it, I think it'll be because of an Ensign Volunteer blowout in the final race of the season. And of course, that means I've got Envy winning the title. I think Volkswagen are going to win the manufacturers, and this is why. Envy have 3 of the best drivers on the grid. S.A. Munat, who proved to be a very good signing after a shaky start last season. Ildefonso Mendes, after a shaky start to season 3, found his form again at Nürburgring. And of course, Manon Dion proved herself to be very capable in her short time in the full-time seat. She's now back in Endurance. You've got an absolutely top-class lineup. You've got the best car of the grid, in my opinion. And I can't see any reason why Envy would not win it. As for who's going to win the driver's title, I think it comes down to 4 drivers in the end. S.A. Munat from Envy, Austin Lindqvist from Shrewsbury, Isidoro Ventura from Stoffel, and the other driver, a shock to some of you, but I think Hackinson. I did put Santos quite low, but I do think Hackinson is a very consistent driver, and I do think he could cause a few issues if he finds his rhythm. As I mentioned, it will be Boucher who probably cost them anything. And, yeah, so mark this down. I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with Munat to win the drivers. I think the driver who's going to be flop of the season, for me anyway, this might actually be a controversial opinion. I think if we go down to Shenzhen, it'll be Louis Cordova. I think a lot of people expecting him to take Shenzhen to that next level. I don't think he's that. I think he's a good midfield driver. I think after the back of last season, I think he'll be a flop. And as for my one to watch for this season, I do shock a lot of you here. But I think you want to keep an eye on Danko Krau. I think she could have a very solid season. I know the Ironside I mentioned is pretty low down, and the Alpha won't be great, but I think Danko Krau is going to be the one to watch for this season. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.